What if I told you a single soldier once stood against an entire army? No backup, no mercy, no escape. Just one man, surrounded by thousands, with nothing left but his courage and a burning will to survive. Tonight, you'll witness a story that will shake your heart, raise your pulse, and make you question everything you thought you knew about war. Because this isn't just history, this is the legend of the soldier who fought an army alone. In the silence of a war-torn land, where smoke covered the sky and the smell of gunpowder never left the air, there lived a soldier whose name was written not in books, but in the blood-soaked soil beneath his boots. This was not a story of 1,000 men. This was the story of one man standing against an entire army. The story begins on a battlefield where the ground trembled beneath the thunder of tanks and the air echoed with the cries of the wounded. Nations had clashed, soldiers had fallen, and yet one man, one forgotten soldier, was left alone in the ruins. His unit was destroyed. His comrades were gone. And standing before him was an entire battalion, armed to the teeth, merciless and hungry for blood. But what they didn't know was that this man carried something far stronger than bullets, far sharper than steel. He carried the fire of survival, the memory of his brothers in arms, and the unbreakable will of a heart that refused to surrender. As night fell, the enemy army moved in, believing this lonely soldier would break like dry wood under their boots. But the darkness was his ally. With every shadow he became invisible. With every sound he became the storm. His rifle was no longer just a weapon, it was justice, vengeance and survival, all bound into one. He struck first with silence. A sentry at the edge of the camp fell before he even realized death had touched him. Another soldier, searching the darkness, found nothing but the cold kiss of a knife. Fear spread like poison among the enemy ranks, because they realized they were not hunting him, he was hunting them. Hour by hour, body after body, the battlefield began to change. A single man was rewriting the fate of a war. Every shot he fired carried the memory of his fallen brothers. Every life he took was a message to the heavens, that no man truly dies if his spirit still fights. The enemy tried everything. They sent squads, they fired heavy artillery, they burned the forests where he hid. But still, he rose from the ashes, relentless, unstoppable. His eyes no longer held fear. They burned with something the enemy had never seen before, the fire of a man who had nothing left to lose. Days turned into nights, and nights into endless battles. The enemy began to whisper about him like he was no longer human, but a ghost of war, a phantom who could not be touched, a shadow that struck without warning. His legend spread through both sides of the battlefield. Some feared him, others prayed for him. But inside he was not a ghost. He was flesh and blood. He carried wounds that bled, memories that cut deeper than any knife, and a heart that cried for the brothers he lost. And yet his pain was the very weapon that gave him strength. One night, surrounded on all sides, he stood alone against an entire regiment. The moon above watched silently, as bullets rained like storms. But this soldier, this one man, moved like lightning. He used every ounce of skill, every drop of courage, every memory of his fallen comrades to keep fighting. His hands trembled, his body bled, but his spirit roared louder than the gunfire. By dawn, the battlefield was quiet. Smoke rose from shattered tanks. Silence replaced screams. And in the middle of it all stood one man, covered in blood and ash, still breathing, still alive. Around him lay the bodies of an army that believed numbers could crush spirit. This was no longer just a war story. This was the birth of a legend, a tale of how one soldier, armed with nothing but courage and grief, stood against an entire army and did not bow. His story teaches us that wars are not only fought with weapons, they are fought with will. That even in the darkest of nights, a single spark of courage can light the fire of victory, and that sometimes one man can carry the strength of 1,000. This soldier's name may be forgotten in books, erased from official records, but it will live forever in the whispers of history. Because when the world asks, can one man fight an entire army, the answer will always be yes. He already did. Legends like this soldier remind us that courage can echo through time. If this story moved you, share it so others can feel the same heartbeat of history. Tell us in the comments what you would have done if you stood alone on that battlefield. And if you want more stories that grip your heart and stir your soul, hit subscribe, because this journey has only just begun.